who used to work with autistic children, I think, that actually has a marketing company. And I saw this very fascinating interview with him on a show on PBS with Douglas Rushkoff. That and in this program he actually talked about marketing to what he called the reptilian brain. And again, this is his words. I mean, he was using these phrases, show me the reptilian, you know. So again, I mean, there are people out there who knows and are aware of this. They know what they're doing, and they're even targeting this, you know.
Exactly, because they are. I mean, you know, when we're watching television, we look into the reptilian brain, because the reptilian brain is very much more communicates through images. It's very image-based, and Carl Sagan, of course, the famous cosmologist, he wrote a book called The Dragons of Eden, something like very close to that, which was about the reptilian traits within humans. And he says in his book to understand the reptilian influence on human behavior is to understand so much about human behavior, or words to that effect. And I think Sagan certainly knew more than he was saying with regard to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I get all the flack and all the stick and all the oh, you're mad talking about reptilians and all that stuff, but you know, these people who say that have no idea of the information and the people I've come across in more than 40 countries over 20 years, and how much so many people in the higher echelons know about this, but they will not come out and say it, not least because they fear ridicule for saying it. Well, because I don't give a damn. I'll say it. But there's so many people that know it that just keep it to themselves.
Exactly.
Or, like Sagan, say it in a roundabout way without actually coming out with it.
That's right. And that brings me to one question also I want to ask you before we round things up here. I know that you have to go here, but and I want to go back a little bit to so to speak the beginning, I guess, of your journey, considering what you have been, revealing, what you've been writing and talking about, and what you just said, that you're taking so much flack for this. So I mean, with the perspective that you have today, I'm very curious just to hear what you think about the experience that you had at Peru, that you talked and written about, that kind of kickstarted it, I guess, for you. What the heck happened there, and why Peru?
Well, it's a very long story, but I had an experience in Peru in 1991 on a mound in the middle of nowhere, where I basically had any eggshell in my consciousness, eggshell being, rigid thought and belief that was blocking connection to higher levels, which we all go through in this reality. It was kind of hit by a missile and shattered, really. And as a result of that, for about 3 months after the Peru experience, I hardly knew what my name was, because it was like a dam had burst in my consciousness, and concepts, information, awareness was flooding in at such a rate that it was like a computer that where you've pressed too many keys, and eventually the computer freezes and says, I cannot process all this information, which, I'm going to sleep. And for 3 months I was just in a bizarre world of trying to process this incredible amount of information that was hitting me. And then after about 3 months, it was like, it's like, when a dam bursts, the water is crashing in chaos all over the place. And then eventually it finds balance in the new situation. Well, after about 3 months, that's what happened to me. And I was the same person outwardly that I had been before the experience. But I wasn't really, because suddenly I was looking at the world from a completely different perspective, and I could see things I couldn't see before. It was like a veil had lifted. And what actually happened, just briefly, because it's a long story, is that I ended up in this little minibus with a couple of guys. One was a tourist diver, and the other one was a Peruvian guide who was showing me around the country. And I was going along this road in the middle of nowhere, and I looked out the window and I saw this mound to my right, and as I looked at it, all I heard in my head was, "Come to me, come to me, come to me, come to me," which is quite bizarre when you're looking at a mound and seeing that, hearing that. So I told the guy to stop the bus, and I got out. So it'll only be a minute. I want to go up that mound. Well, I was rather longer than a minute. When I got to the top of the mound, I couldn't see it from the road, but there was a circle of standing stones about waist height. Obviously been there a very, very long time, and it was like a mini Stonehenge, I guess you could describe it as, at waist height. And I walked to the middle of the circle, and I looked back to where I'd just come from, which was a hill with Inca ruins on it called Siustani. And I looked at the distant mountains. In fact, in any way you look from this mound, it was like encompassed by mountains in the distance. And suddenly I felt like magnets were pulling my feet to the ground, and my feet started to burn. And then I felt like a drill going in the top of my head and going through my body and through my feet. And then I felt another flow of energy coming the other way. I mean, I can describe it now and understand what was happening, but I didn't understand it at the time. I thought, what the hell is all this about?
Yeah.
And then I heard this voice in my head. Well, it's not really a voice. It's a decoded thought form. That's what it is. And it said, first of all, it said, they'll be talking about this 100 years from now. And then it said, it will be over when you feel the rain. And now I'm standing in the middle of this mound, in the middle of this circle, under a piercing Peruvian sky. There is not a cloud in the sky. And I'm hearing it will be over when you feel the rain. And then my arms went out at 45 degrees from my body, going upwards. And if you try to, and I never made a decision to do that. They just did it. And if you try to do that for, say, 30 seconds or a minute, then your shoulders start to ache. Well, mine were like it for, must have been the best part of an hour. Jeez. And I didn't feel anything until it was over, and then my shoulders were agony. But I kept going in and out of consciousness, just like when you're driving a car and then you think, where'd the last 2 miles go? That kind of in and out. And the energy going through me got more and more powerful to the point where my body was shaking. And then as I came back to consciousness at one point, and this whole process must have taken about 45 minutes to an hour, but there was no time in the state that I went into. When I came back to consciousness, I saw that over the distant mountains in front of me, there was now a light grey mist, and then it got darker, and I realized it was raining quite heavily over the mountains. And then in the period that followed, I watched, in and out of consciousness, this rainstorm come towards me. It was extraordinary because they talk about weather fronts. Well, this front, the cloud front coming out of the mountains, was this absolute dead straight line. It was like drawing curtains across the sky. And it was coming towards me incessantly, but slowly, quite slowly. And then it covered the sun and everything. And then I was seeing the rain pouring down, stair-rod rain, and coming towards me. And it was pouring and pouring and pouring, until it was just in front of me, still pouring, but I was dry. And then it hit me. And as it hit me, this energy that was surging through my top of my head and up from the earth through me, just switched off. It will be over when you feel the rain, I guess. And my arms are now agony. My legs are like jelly. I can hardly stand up. And just before I went to Peru, I was in a crystal shop in a place called Glastonbury in England. I'm just looking around, passing the time of day. And suddenly, out of nowhere, the owner of the shop, came from behind the counter, picks up this big quartz crystal, give it to me, and said, "I think you ought to have this." And I said, "Look, I can't afford that, mate." He said, "No, have it. I just feel you need to take it." And on that mound, after it was over, this energy was pouring out of my hands. It would stop going through my body, through my head, but it was pouring out of my hands and feet, and I had that crystal with me, which he'd only given me, 2 or 3 weeks earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And I put my hands around it, trying to take this energy out, and I couldn't sleep that night because the energy was still vibrating on the bottom of my feet, and my life changed dramatically after that, Henrik, I have to tell you.
Yeah.
And so exactly what it was about, I don't know, but it certainly crashed my, if you like, anything stagnant or static within my consciousness, my five sense consciousness that disappeared. The world was never the same afterwards, and
yeah, I find
I saw it in a completely different way.
Yeah, I find it so interesting. I mean, there's so much that comes to surface here. I mean, is something directing events here? I mean, again, does the creation kind of work through people like this, considering, you know, the amount of information that you've helped to bring forth, you know, in your work?
Oh yes, absolutely. Because the thing is that, you know, people say, when's the cavalry going to come over the horizon and sort this out? Well, the cavalry, if you like, is consciousness. It's higher consciousness. That when you access higher consciousness, then you access the means of sorting it out, for want of a phrase, and you also access the means of seeing it for what it is. Now, you know, consciousness works on different vibrational states. It's not a matter of consciousness coming to us so much as we have to go to consciousness, or at least we have to make it has to be a joint thing, so that we open our minds and allow our consciousness to vibrate faster and faster, which it doesn't in the lower density of five sense reality, so that we can access and connect with this higher consciousness. And when you do that, you become a vehicle for it, and that level of information can be brought down into this reality and communicated and shared. And I think there are a lot of people who have come into this reality at this time with the journey of experiencing the reality as it is and having many, many challenges, but opening up, not least through those challenges, to this higher consciousness and becoming vehicles for it. Now, there will be some who've got probably many who've got so caught in five sense reality that they're not aware of what they've come to do, and because they're not connecting with that which is what they've come to connect with while in embodiment. But some have, and the ones that have are involved in this communication of information and awareness to help people see the plight and the situation that we're in, and how to come to bring an end to it.
That's right. And exactly, and I find this story so fascinating. That's why I appreciate so much that you shared it with us, because it reveals so much about if you will, a higher, maybe not guiding, but at least overseeing, you know, force that actually is, you know, with us, so to speak, and we're not, you know, totally alone here, you know.
Well, I've written about 16 books now, and the last 6 or 7 total, more than 2 million words of interconnected facts and dot connecting and insights into various things. Now, if I'd have set out to do that without some higher level connecting with me, wouldn't have been possible. Wouldn't have been possible. My life has been, since Peru, has been an unbelievably synchronistic journey of, it's like someone walking through a maze and some force telling you which lane to go down and which lane not to go down. Opening doors and closing doors. There is a consciousness which is there to be accessed by anyone, that is about bringing an end to this sense of limitation so that people can see